Reisner, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
Daniel, we see countries in the past few months like India and Japan and entities like the EU trying to regulate FDIs. Now, the story says that it is to prevent China from going on a shopping spree. What's your take on that?
That's partially true. The Chinese, the Japanese, Indian part of that is primarily in response to American pressure to prevent Chinese companies from taking over. The European story is much more complicated. The Europeans have been concerned about foreign direct investments for years, long before the Chinese-American trade war. And as a result, most of the efforts in Europe today to prevent foreign investment taking over companies have absolutely nothing to do with China. They have everything to do with protection of European companies against foreign takeovers. By the way, for example, one of the countries, Germany, the primary concern they have is against the United States and not China. And it's an interesting story. And the other concern is that they don't want companies to be swallowed up because of COVID-19.
What does it mean, this trend that we see of regulating FDIs? What does it mean for our global economy?
First of all, much more difficulty in actually conducting international business in companies which are designated as of national interest. Secondly, less certainty in international transactions, because many of the countries which have now put in place FDI rules have also put in place the authority to revoke deals in the past. So suddenly the risk of a regulator coming and saying, I'm very sorry, but I just realized that you are a Israeli and you bought this sensitive company and I am revoking it retroactively, good luck. In the past, this was only a risk in the United States, and now it's starting to be a risk in other countries as well.
Very interesting. And I have a last question. So we're trying to look at opportunities, okay? So we're diplomats and we're a business person, and we're trying to understand what are the next opportunities, business opportunities, investment opportunities post-COVID-19, just because we have a sort of a benchmark. And we're still going with our trend of regulating foreign investment. Do you see areas of opportunities, maybe regions, maybe sectors?
First of all, there are the obvious sectors which have been hardest hit by the economic depression side of COVID-19. So the tourism sector, the hotel sector, the international travel sector, all of these are in reality bankrupt. And now that means that airlines are asking for government bailout programs, but that only applies to airlines who can go to governments. The interesting thing in the last 30 years is that most of the airlines today don't even have a national carrier relationship. So they have no government to crawl to. So El Al in Israel crawls to the government and says, we will commit suicide unless you give us, I don't know, 400 billion, whatever. But JetBlue in the US, they can try it with the US government, but the EasyJet, who will they go to? And a few others. So there are a lot of opportunities in those sectors. There are also a lot of opportunities in what we call distressed industries. And those are country-specific industries which have been destabilized because of COVID-19, and as a result have entered into a short-term cash flow, or they have looming debt they can't repay right now, and it's difficult to get new loans. So there are these type of opportunity, what we call the targets of opportunity. Part of the EU response, in fact, most of the EU response recently is because of this. Because they don't want the important historical companies of Europe to be sold because they got into trouble for 3 months. So I think there are two things I would say to people seeking opportunities. One, There are opportunities out there, but you need to be aware of the fact that the country's regulators are trying to minimize your chances of catching a company at the bottom price, because it could mean that they will lose one of their critical companies in the long term. And secondly, I think one of the opportunities is setting up companies specializing in identifying where FDI is and is not applicable.
That's very smart. Thank you very much, Daniel Reisner. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.